All right. For this one, I want to talk about black holes. I'm not a physicist or a scientist or nothing. I don't know a lot about them, but just the idea of mathematics and physics and space and dark matter and gravity. It's really confusing to people who don't like it, people who don't care, and it's not that confusing. It's just the fact that when you're a scientist and you have so many variables, you have to find a way to log your progress without endangering the whole big picture. So when you come up with like E equals mc squared, or the equation for gravity, it's really just an equation that describes a force that we don't know. So gravity is a name applied to something that we don't know what it is. Gravity, we know what gravity is, we know what it does, but we have defined gravity is definable by a mathematical equation that explains why things fall towards the center of gravity at the rate that they do, what reason for the weight, like what the difference from gravity to planet is based on its mass. All that is math. And the same with black holes. When you have a mathematical equation, it's got to equal. It's got to make sense. If that equation doesn't work, then there's a force that you're either not accounting for, or there's a myriad of different problems. So everything like a black hole is a mathematical equation. It's not something that we know what it is. I had a conversation with somebody who was like, yeah, but black holes are super cool. And I said, as far as I know, black holes suck in everything around them. Gravity, light. It's just this. So if light gets sucked in, it doesn't get back to your eyes, and you can't see it. And I told him, I'm like, I don't believe we've ever seen a black hole. And he's like, what? I've seen pictures and blah, blah. And so I just looked it up real quick. No, there's never been a picture of a black hole. They exist because they exist in the mathematics. You can observe them from a non-human perspective, the phenomena, through the physics, but it is just another name placed on an object that's only definable by a mathematical equation. And so if I walk down the street and I get hit by a bus, you can literally quantify why I walked down the street, down to my chemicals in my body. Was I going to get food? You can quantify how fast I was walking by all these different things that came into play, whether or not things interacted with me, if I saw somebody or not. All those things are variables that can be represented by a letter or by something in an equation. And you could literally write a mathematical equation that would explain why I got hit by that bus. So, it doesn't give you the reason why. It just lets you know the why of the cause and effect relationship to these things. So, when I think about black holes and 4D, I think, what if a black hole is just a fourth dimensional planet? What if it's like, if you take that Carl Sagan 2D universe and you take a 3-dimensional object, now what happens if you have a 2D plane and I, with all my strength, visit this 2-dimensional world and push through it, right? I push with so much mass that my indention in space-time is past that second dimension in this case. So if I were to plunge my finger below the line of sight of a 2-dimensional creature, all they would observe is their 2-dimensional reality bending into invisibility. Once it passed that line of their perception, it would just go invisible into a dimension that they could not perceive. Up or down, they could not perceive. So, to me, I don't see why I'd have to have somebody with more intelligence explain to me why there couldn't be an object with so much mass that it's pushing through into the fourth dimension, and from the third dimension you can't see it. All you would observe is a hole with everything getting sucked into it, just like if it was just a 3-dimensional object sitting in a 2D space, you would seem to observe the same thing as a 2-dimensional character. So, just as the analogy, I wonder, there's these big black holes in the middle of these galaxies, and they rotate, and they've got gravity, and it's very hard to explain, and we've got all these ideas of invisible entities and aliens and stuff. What if every black hole just leads to the dimensional direction that we can't perceive? What if it's just, and it's a big if, because our Earth doesn't just suck everything around vastly into it, but it does because of its gravity. So what if that object just has so much mass and gravity that it's pulling things straight from our third dimension into that interstellar dimension? Whoa. The point of this is just to say, don't get so confused by all the hoopla and hoopnanny. It is all one big picture, one big mathematical experience, and it's yet to be solved until we figure out the parameters of our entire universe. That's when we'll be able to explain every force and put it in its proper place. If you're playing football and you don't know the edges of the field, where the edges of the field are, you don't know how far you've got to run to score a touchdown. So if you are living in a universe and you're trying to explain all of the shifting forces in that universe without knowing the edge parameter of that universe, you're grasping in the dark for things, and as soon as you find something that reoccurs over and over again, you just put a name on it. Don't know what the fuck that is, but we're going to put a name on it. And that's gravity, or that's dark matter, or that's a black hole. Remember, these things are just better to be imagined. It's better to imagine a black hole. It's better to imagine gravity as a force where there's a bowling ball on a trampoline. Not because it's accurate completely, but because our feeble human brains can only understand these things through almost geometric thought experiments. So, I think there's a podcast with, I believe his name is Burt Weinstein on Joe Rogan. I know I got that lazy eye, I think I have it. So check that out. Burt Weinstein. Check that out.